Hello, listeners. If you've enjoyed these narrations, please click on that like and subscribe button. I'm an avid lucid dreamer and explorer of the dreamscape. I think something has followed me back to reality. My life has been difficult, and I do really mean difficult. People always say no matter how bad you have it, someone always has it worse, so stop whining. But I really do have it bad. And I apologize if this makes me seem cruel, but I don't care about anyone else. While I was still back in college, one night I had a very lucid, vivid dream, although I came to learn of the name much later. In that dream, I was very conscious and aware, and able to do anything and everything I wanted. So I did the one thing I had always wanted to do. I conjured up a scenario that has happened so many times before, but this time I made sure it had a different ending. My bullies, Norman, Lucas, and Jack, all stood around me, frozen. I wanted to test some new powers of mine, so I made them all kneel, and one by one they all got down on their knees. Amazed, I thought about playing out the scenario of them apologizing to me, kissing up to my feet. Lo and behold, the mighty 6-foot-tall Norman bent forward, apologizing in a hushed whisper, and kissed my boots. I was extremely ecstatic. I played around in the dream for a while longer after exacting my revenge, which was watching those assholes run around campus naked while being chased by security. Then I heard a loud ringing noise. The world started to fall apart and my eyes fluttered open back to reality. After that night, I wasn't able to enter the dreamscape for months, and I tried everything, and I do mean literally everything. Eventually I stumbled upon a post online, similar to this Reddit post, explaining the whole process of lucid dreaming, step by step. It warned that it was a lengthy process, and not every night can result in the lucid dream, but I had to try nonetheless, and eventually I got back into it. I was so happy that my momentary focus shattered and I woke back up. Since then, I've become an experienced lucid dreamer. I can automatically enter the dreamscape upon falling asleep now. I've been all around the world at 30. I've seen all my wildest dreams come true, and sometimes even nightmares. I've lived full lives. I've had sex with celebrities you couldn't even dream of seeing in person. I've done anything you can imagine. The weirdest thing about it all is, my mind somehow knows the truth of something, even though I've never seen it. One time I decided to try and watch a movie early, and I swear, the movie played out the exact same as it did in the theaters months later. Another time I got to see an actor shirtless, and this said actor had no shirtless pictures online or anywhere that my mind could have conjured. That sounds crazy, right? That's why I'm here today. 2 nights ago I was exploring the dreamscape as usual when I lost control and the world fell apart, but it rebuilt itself into something different. It wasn't the first time that my mind couldn't keep focus on what I wanted, and it would conjure up something different. But this time it was different, in the way I couldn't move anymore. My entire body was shaking, but refusing to listen to my commands. That's when I felt a strong pair of hands around my neck. "I found you," a raspy voice whispered in my ear. The next moment I found myself tied up in a wooden chair in a dark place. "You didn't think you could explore this realm for free for long, did you?" The raspy voice came from somewhere in the darkness. "Eventually, you will have to pay the price as all do." It continued to whisper in my ear. "Who are you? Where are you?" I screamed into the darkness, meanwhile trying to conjure up a favorable scenario for myself. I mean, this was my dream after all. I had the power here. The scenario shifted again and I found myself in my room, illuminated by the night sky. A dark figure was looming over me though, and I recognized this dark figure. It had sometimes visited me before my sleep, right before I closed my eyes. It was the same figure I had experienced every time I went into sleep paralysis. It never did anything though. It always just stood there before, so why now? "What is your price of payment?" It rasped it in my ear, even though it was on the opposite side of the room, making me flinch. Realization hit me, meaning I could move, so I slowly got off my bed. "I'm not afraid of you here. You're just some figment of my imagination." That's when the room shifted and the light came on. I did have some power here. The dark figure screeched and disappeared out of the room. But my victory didn't last long as everything shifted again, and I was once again bounded, this time against a tree in a pitch-black forest. "The price," the voice whispered, as a cold hand grabbed my neck once more and began to choke me. I felt pain of the lack of oxygen. This couldn't be real, it was a dream. A loud ringing resonated through the entire eerie, quiet forest. My vision shifted once more, and I was back in my room, illuminated by the sunlight. "What was that?" I whispered to myself, thinking it could have been a realistic nightmare maybe. I went into the bathroom and began brushing my teeth when I noticed the rapid receding fingerprints wrapped around my neck. I dropped my toothbrush and moved closer to the mirror before the last of the prints faded away. I was in disbelief, shock. As freaked out as I was, I managed to convince myself that it was just a nightmare, and I imagined the fingerprints around my neck. But the following night I entered the dreamscape again, and everything was back to normal, so I decided to treat myself to a luxurious dinner with a famous celebrity. As we chatted the evening away while eating an exquisite lobster in a 5-star dinner. "Yeah, and playing in that movie was completely exhausting. I really paid the price for it," the celebrity said. "The price?" I asked them to elaborate further, but the light suddenly dimmed, and the loud chatter around us turned to hushed whispers. "You also have to pay the price." The voice grew distorted and twisted. I tried to stand up, but found myself bound to that same chair again. The food I was eating turned to rotten mush full of worms and maggots. The person in front of me now remaining unchanged, continuously eating the rotten food, bite after bite. "Please, just tell me what you want," I asked with confidence I wish I had. "We have told you. You need to pay the price," it whispered in my ear over and over. "No, I don't know what price you want." My binding suddenly came undone. I stood up and ran across the restaurant, back into the forest again. I ran through the dead silent woods, not looking back before I tripped on the branch and fell. I winced in pain as my perspective changed, and I was back in the restaurant. "You cannot run from me," it continued to whisper in my ear, changing location after location. "Maybe not, but I can wake up." I took the knife still laying on the table and stabbed it through my hand. The sudden surge of pain woke me up. I was now inside my room. It was still dark. I stood up, feeling pain in my hand for some reason. I looked at it for a long moment in disbelief. The knife wound. It was right there. A hole right in the middle of my fucking hand. I frantically ran to my bathroom to find bandages for my hand. I disinfected it and winced in pain. That's when I looked into the mirror, and from the corner of my eye I saw a silhouette standing outside the bathroom, just watching. "You will pay with your life," it rasped at me. In response, I lunged into the dark hallway, right at it, aiming for the light switch and flicked it on. The shadow screeched as it slowly retreated back into the darkness. I stayed in the hallway the rest of the night until it turned daytime, and the entire time it kept repeating the same words over and over. The price is your life. I drove to the hospital at the first sign of sunlight to have my hand checked out. They asked me a lot of questions about the injury, but I had nothing to tell them. I'm back home right now writing this, and it's already getting dark. I can see the dark shadows moving around the house working on some devious plan. Well, as for my plan, I'm going to stay up all night and keep the lights on no matter the cost, because as I've learned, it can't exist in the light. I only hope that's enough to survive. I can't let it get me. Whatever it is, it has followed me back into the real world and wants to kill me. Help.